What they've sent me here is the Aero 2. That is the Aero 2 camera, or I don't know if it's called the Aero 2, but it's the updated Aero. The original Aero was so bad and like just abysmally planned out that they took my advice and revamped the whole thing and improved it quite a bit. So I'm going to start off real quick, just show you what's in the box. You get the box. It's called the HS1190. Nothing special. I'm pretty sure every Aero that you buy right now is going to be the updated one. I don't think there's the possibility of getting the old one because it was just so bad. The aluminum mounting bracket, which is still worthless. It's still super thin aluminum, very flimsy. It's going to break easily. The mount, which mounts from the lens. I don't think anybody uses this, but if you do, you got it in there. You get a spare case, which has the 2 screw holes on the sides. And you get the case which has double screw holes for their new mount. Also the OSD board and the wires to wire the thing in. The wires this time are a little bit different and you only get one set. And the way that they did the OSD is that they have this wire is actually, this actual one hanging off this is actually wired into this connector. And it's just kind of hanging from behind the camera. And anytime you need to plug in the OSD, you use this wire to plug in the OSD, which is kind of an interesting, kind of neat, nice and convenient. This is the lens that comes with it. It is a 2.5 millimeter lens from Foxeer, and upon my recommendation, they made that standard on their cameras to make 2.5 the stock one. What I'm running on this is actually a 1.8. And that is the 1.8 lens from PyroFlip, and that thing is awesome because it's a little bit wider than the 2.5, and it's, more importantly, almost entirely distortion free, so it's fantastic. I took my camera off the mount so I can show you the back of it, and it looks like they actually changed the pin out here. Before, I believe the camera was being powered directly from the Sense line, and this time they made it powered from the 5 volt from your BEC or BTX or any other 5 volt source or whatever higher voltage. But the voltage for the main battery is just a Sense line. It's not actually powering anything. Over here I have wired the ground and the power. I don't think you actually need the ground. I think it'll work fine with just the power. And these are the side brass inserts for the screws. These are M2 screws, which is a great idea. But the original problem with the first camera was that the brass insert would just kind of fall out too easily. And they improved it. What they did was it feels like they made the plastic a little bit harder. And also when you look at the other side, if you see in there, there's a hole. There's actually a hole on the other side of the brass insert. And I think what that does is when the screw makes it to the end of the brass insert, it just goes through that hole. So you're actually screwing into the brass and the plastic at the same time. I found that this holds up much, much, much better. It has not fallen out of the mount once, although I haven't crashed very hard, but it just holds up better. So kudos. The case is relatively solved. I still prefer the old case. The problem with the old case is that it strips. If you screw it and unscrew it too many times, the holes just strip out. The plastic out of the holes strip out and you can't use it anymore. Once again, these are silicone wires, and that's really, really, really good. The first time I turned the camera on and took a look at the screen, I was like, oh crap, they put the Foxeer there again. You can't remove that. This is going to be terrible. But then I actually spoke to Foxeer themselves, and they told me the secret button to push so that I can actually get into the menu and change all the OSD stuff. And that secret button is to long press the up button on the OSD board. So those 4 buttons, those control buttons, you go to just the plain screen and just hold the up button. Then you get to this menu where you can change the name, and you can change if you want to have your timer, and you can change if you want to have the voltage on or off, which obviously you want to have it on. The camera itself is the same as any Sony 600 CCD, but they did improve a couple of small features. One thing is that the camera no longer flashes black as it switches from black and white to color, but I still prefer color because when it does flip into black and white mode, you don't really get any benefit, you just have less color. Other than that, I could say that the voltage readout on this thing is actually the most accurate voltage readout I have seen on any OSD or pretty much any device that I have. I have about 4 or 5 devices that read voltages, and they're all, a couple tenths off. This thing is within a tenth of a volt accuracy. So it's really, really good. It's better than any of the other OSDs I've tried. I've tried 4 or 5 different OSDs. Also, it's auto sense. So if you're running 3S, it'll automatically show you the voltage for 3S. If you're running 4S, it'll automatically show you the voltage for 4S. And the most important thing that they actually listen to me on is the refresh rate of the voltage readout. So the refresh rate seems to be about 1/4 of a second, maybe 1/5 of a second. So that's perfect. The other issue is, do you actually want an OSD on your screen? It's really nice to have the voltage there and all that readout and everything, but when I'm flying, I'm usually trying to see where I'm going. I'm not really looking at the voltage to see if I need to land. I'm pretty sure most people don't just stare at the voltage, so it's kind of like weird to fly and just try to check your voltage as you're going along. I hugely prefer some feedback, which I use telemetry so that my controller vibrates and alarms and tells me that my voltage is dropping below the minimum voltage I want to hit. But some people like it on the screen. I don't really know why, but it's just a nice feature. So if you're going to be buying another Sony 600 CCD, this is really the one to get. I mean, it does everything you need it to do. It's the same camera, and it has the voltage readout. If you want to use it, if you don't want to use it, don't use it. So it's pretty nice. I'm going to give this a good review. Surprisingly, I was impressed myself. I kind of told Foxeer I wasn't interested in this camera. I was not interested at all, and I actually recommended they just eliminate the arrow line because the first version was so bad that it was just horrible. It's just, why even bother, marketing anything again? Just delete it and refresh, restart from scratch, and make a new brand. But this turned out well, so great.